Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Richard Mille RM029 Japan Limited Edition to 50 pieces. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history of the RM29, then tell you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar RM29s. Then I'm going to tell you about the case bezel dial bracelet movement, finally try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start with the history. Now Richard Mille has only been out for approximately 20 years, 25 years. They came out in approximately 2000, and when they came out, they were they did not that great, but now they're doing super great. Now, this RM29 was derived from its predecessor, which was the RM10, and the RM10 came out in 2006. And as I said, RM came out in approximately 2000. When they first came out, they came out with this tonneau-shaped watch. It was the RM5, but it really was super tiny. This one's already small. I'll get to it when I talk about the case. The RM5 was super small. It's like a baby's watch, and it just proved to be too small. So 5 years later, they figured out, okay, let's make, in 2006, they figured out, okay, let's make a RM10. And that one basically has the same dimensions as this one, but it's just a little bit thicker. And then they made some refinements to the RM10, and so in 2011, 5 years after that, they came out with the RM29. Basically, it's the same movement, except they moved the date from the left to the right. It was a little bit bigger, and then they managed to make it a little thinner. And then they kept producing the RM29 from 2011, actually even until 2023. So I had like actually, I even heard that they might release a couple more of them, just because they have some leftover parts to it. So uh, they've been producing this watch for more than 10 years, and it's your really basic RM with the tonneau shaped, and any RM10 or RM29 is going to be small sized like this. Basically, RM makes small, medium, large watches. This is one of their small watches. It's the same size as their 6701, which is their extra flat, and it's also the same size as their 6702 and even their 7201, which is their lifestyle watch. So it's a small watch for Richard Mille standards, which is beneficial and you'll see it when I try it on my wrist. Okay, that's a little bit about the history of the RM29, and they made many different variations. So let's get into the next section of this video, which is where does this watch stand in the lineup of other RM 29s. Well, the RM29, the basic version of it, they make it, as you can imagine, in metals, and those metals are titanium, rose gold, white gold. I think they make it in white gold, for sure rose gold and titanium. And then they did a couple of special editions, and they did a all black ceramic, which was a Japan edition. They did this carbon TPT, which again is a Japan edition. And I think they made some other additions to it, and but what you see in front of you is the Japan edition. Okay. Oh, they also made a Le Mans, which is a green one. Also really, really cool. Okay. All right. So they made many different variations of it over the course of 10 plus years, as you can imagine, because the watch had been out for 10 plus years. Of course, they had to make variations. They couldn't just keep selling, titanium, rose gold over and over. They had to, make a few variations. And each time they do the variation, they don't make very many, 50 pieces, something like that. And that's not a lot considering that, the whole, a lot of the population wants this watch. Okay, and therefore they're all trading above retail. And by the way, if you want to buy this watch, just simply go click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com. Okay, now let's move on to the case itself and start talking about the case. What is different about this watch is that it's made with carbon TPT. The TPT stands for North Thin Ply Technology, which basically Richard Mille takes carbon fiber strands they angle them at 45-degree angles, layer them upon each other, heat it up to 120 degrees Celsius, and then add pressure to it of 6 bars to get the case, and then they put it in a CNC machine and then cut it down to where it is, which you end up with a case that is super duper robust. It really doesn't chip or scratch, and it will maintain its look basically forever, and it's also super duper light. So it's just a really good material to make high-end sports watches out of. Okay, and the Japan edition is the only one I think of other than the Le Mans, which is green, which is a very difficult watch to wear, as you can imagine, because it's freaking green. But it's the only watch that is done with this material, and they only did 50 of it. And why would you want to get this one? Is because it's size small. If they made the next size up from this, by the way, is a medium size. It's a RM30, and they made a carbon TPT version of that as well, but that's a bigger size. So not everybody has a big wrist, and therefore you might have to wear a smaller watch, which is the RM29. Okay, so that is where this watch stands in the lineup. And I think they made this one, the RM29 came out in approximately 2011, and the Japan edition that you see in front of you came out in 2017. Okay, all right. So that's where this watch stands in the lineup. Now let's start talking about the case. Now the case is, first let's talk about the dimensions of the case. Now the dimensions going up and down from 12 to 6, that is actually only 48 millimeters, not that big. To give you some reference, the RM65, which is a big one, or RM30, which is also a bigger one than this, it's 50 millimeters. This one's 48. Now you might not think that that's much, but it is. And then going from left to right, from 9 to 3, is 39 millimeters, just a hair bigger than the extra thin 6701. And then in terms of thickness, it has a 12.6 millimeter thickness, which is not very thick considering that a Rolex is around 12 millimeters, and you have a skeletonized dial here. 12.6 millimeters is quite thin. And that, as I said at the beginning of the video, it replaces the RM10, which had the same vertical and horizontal dimensions, but the thickness was improved on the RM29, which is what you see here. It's only 12, and I think the RM10, which is what this one replaces, was like 13 point something, like a millimeter thicker. Okay, but at any rate, it's a size small. And so guys with a, let's say, 7-inch wrist or smaller can wear this watch just perfectly fine. In fact, I've even sold the RM29 Le Mans to a woman, and she could wear it just fine. She was not even a very big woman. So, and it's just large for a woman, but it's well-sized for a man. Okay, anyways, that's the size. Now, look, check this out. You might have not have noticed this, which is why you're probably watching this video, trying to decide if you want to buy it. Why else would you want to buy this one? The case, as I said, is small. So as such, check this out. You see the spline screws, the 5 spline screws going up and down on the front. They only have 2. On the larger ones, such as the RM30 or the RM65, they have 4 spline screws on each of the side of the bezel, going from this 11 to 7 and 1 to 5. They have 4 screws right there, and 2 holding the bracelet, of course. But since this watch is smaller, shorter, it only has 2 screws. I'm not sure that really matters, but that's how you can tell it is smaller. Okay, so that is the sort of the case there. Okay, now let's move on to the movement here. The movement is the same movement more or less it's the same movement that Richard Mille came out with in 2006. It's just that they made the date a little bit bigger, made some really minor things, but it's more or less the same movement as the RM10. I'm pretty sure I'm oversimplifying this, but to me it looks the same. So I have to call it as I see it, which is basically the same. And also, I can also say this: I've sold plenty of RM30s. I've had them in my hand, and I want to say pretty much the movement doesn't look that much different. Yes, I know the RM30 has a power reserve, declutchable rotor, blah, blah, blah. Who really cares? but it basically looks the same. The placement of the numbers look the same. The movement with this circular wheel, date wheel, and base plate, and the hands, everything basically looks the same from the 10 to the 29 as the 30. And I'm talking about the movement here and the way that they're pegged to the edge of the watch. I believe that they're held in there with rubber or something like that. They're held in at the four corners. It's a very similar. Yeah, I know the RM30, as a result of being bigger, they had to do more things and add some more functions to it. But basically, it looks the same. And this era of watches, their skeletonized movements look very similar. I would say that when I say this era, I'm saying approximately from 2000 to 2020. The movements were bigger and they look like this. After 2020, you get the RM65, RM72, which is the split second, and the lifestyle. Those ones, the movement looks really compact. There's like almost no space. Okay, at any rate, that's the movement here, and it's still really good movement. It's tried, tested, and I should also mention this. The movement is called RMAS7. Back then, when they were making this, Richard Mille did not make their movements in-house. They subcontracted, and then they bought movements and they modified them. Nothing really wrong with that, but that's just what they did back then. Now, for example, I believe their split second and their lifestyle, they're making them all in-house, every part of it, or at least most of the part of it. But back then, they did not. So, okay, but it's still Richard Mille movement. It's still excellent. It still looks beautiful. Okay, let's move on to the dial here. Now, here's the dial. The funny part is it's hard to call this a dial considering that the watch is skeletonized, but the inside of this bezel, this white and blue part, really makes this watch stand out. I really like it. And as you can see, the bezel has this white and blue, and they call this a Japan. I guess I'm not really sure, but I guess it's Japan. White and blue, is that their color? I suppose it must be. Otherwise, why would they put it in this color? It's actually quite a beautiful color. Yeah, they hand paint that, by the way. It's very thin, okay? And that everything you see that's white and blue, and then just the top layer, that's the dial, quote unquote dial, but everything below that's the movement. Okay, let's move on to the strap. The strap is nothing really to talk about. It's an old school single vent. You can change the strap as you wish. It has the buckle that is your signature RM buckle. Okay, not much to talk about there. Okay, that's pretty much it. So let's try this watch on. Now I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I have a 7.5-inch wrist. And as you can see, the watch looks very, very nice on me. I have a 7.5-inch wrist. And so I would actually say even those who have, definitely those who have a wrist size of 7 inches or larger, you should be looking at an RM10, RM29, RM72, RM67, not an RM30 or a RM65 because your wrist is too small for that. But if you have a larger wrist, you could still wear this watch. I think it looks okay when the watch is a little bit small. I don't think it looks better when the watch is too big. So there you have it. So why would you want to buy this watch? Well, one, because you like the size. That's probably, in my opinion, number one. When you're trying to choose an RM for yourself, you should choose between small, medium, large, and the 29 is a small. And then next you should choose, of course, something that is within your price range. Now, if you get a very modern one like the 72 Lifestyle or a 6702 extra thin, those watches are around $300,000. That's a lot of money. But the RM29s and 10s, which have been out for quite some time, released in 2000, 2006, and 2011 respectively, those watches have been around some time, and therefore there's a lot of them on the market, and therefore the price has gone, it's not that high. We're talking, in the hundreds, sometimes low hundreds, sometimes mid hundreds, depending on which variations you're looking for. But that's a big consideration when you're looking at a watch, is the price. So for the price of this watch, now we had this watch and in the mid to high hundreds, which is where we're selling it. And by the way, if you want to buy it, just click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com. It really checks a lot of boxes. because it's not as expensive as some of those other ones, yet it's still every bit of Richard Mille, but it's just smaller and less people are going after smaller watches, even though they should be, by the way. So there's just less demand, which causes the price to go down. So it's, anyways, I really like the 29. I'm a huge fan of it, and I would probably have to say for me, just for me personally, this is my favorite variation of the 29. I know there's a Le Mans, it's crazy, but come on, green? I mean, how do you wear green? And then, you know, rose gold and titanium, yes, those are nice, but they're not special. And to me, Richard Mille is special when they use these really crazy materials, such as the one you see here. And so, yeah, I really like the watch, and yeah, it's awesome. So look, if you want to buy it, go to jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model, and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.